As an artist, you have to know what is your niche, where do you fit, and how do you bring people in. As a dancer and a storyteller, I can just dance and I can tell stories that are general. Stories come in many different categories. You have problem stories, trickster stories, you have stories that are mythological, stories that are traditional, stories that explain how things happen in the world. But then you have the kind of oral histories where people are talking about themselves, or you might be talking about yourself. But the importance of talking about yourself is not to be self-indulgent, but to be able to communicate something to everybody that they can connect with and relate to. So therefore, if I'm looking at storytelling, for example, I can tell a general fable and everybody understands that. But then there are those people who want to connect and understand more about my culture. And so therefore, when I'm telling those stories, I can tell the specific stories about my culture where I actually go into the context of how we tell stories. So for example, within the context, I will talk about the telling of ghost stories or duppy stories, stories about the spirits, and the fact that in the Caribbean and in Africa, these are the stories you tell when it's a dark night, as opposed to when it's a moonshine night, and then you're telling the more general stories that are just purely for entertainment, but also the way in which you engage with the audience and bring the audience in. So we might say something like, when I say crick, then you say crack. Crick, crack, crick, crack. So that you start to show the call and response nature of storytelling and how you actually engage the audience and make sure you keep them on board. If I'm telling a more general story, I will always situate it so that the audience feels as if they're being drawn in. They are part of the action and they are being considered. If you don't engage the audience, you lose them very quickly.